add to that, just to kind of round up the features, there were things that I just didn't even know were there because I just didn't come across it, or even some that came out of left field that I'm pretty sure like some of you guys are kind of tripping out about. Like for one is the stage loading.
Oh yeah,
being different for two different players. That was not talked about anywhere. To my knowledge, I hadn't seen anything about it in any kind of like, pre-built. Well, it's because all the other kind of versions were offline, right? This is the first time we actually got to play online.
Yep.
And, people started catching on all the streams. Everybody was streaming, right? If you followed an FGC head and they got a key, you were going to see Street Fighter 6 on your Twitch timeline on the left side, right?
Yeah.
And some people were catching on. They're like, yo, you're playing so-and-so. And they're like, yeah. It's like, but his stage is different from yours. And then they connected it. They allowed the ability to have the one unthinkable thing. We don't have to always be in training mode. Holy shit, that's crazy. These artists that designed awesome creative backgrounds that fighting games have, and like their stages alone, you can create an entire like distance area on a fucking stage design for fighting games. Now can actually be shown off like on a competitive sense, because if you have training mode MJ and then you're playing Meza could have, Guile's background running on his, or the spectator could be seeing Guile's background instead of just training mode, which, funny enough, was a mod that was added to Street Fighter V because the community built it because they were tired of seeing fucking training stage, that now when a broadcaster like Spooky or whatever would play it, would watch, they would get a stage, while as the competitors were still, on training on the training stage. Which obviously for competitive integrity, you want to make sure performance, there's no lag, the stage isn't causing any kind of issue for the competitors. Completely makes sense, but it leaves a good question, which actually was funny enough brought to us by our producer Job. Was like, they're like, well, if all the stages are loaded up like that, does that mean they're all the same size? Are all designed in the same size in the same exact box the entire way through? There's no stage that's going to be. They would have to be, right? Which I was like, holy shit! Like he's right. Like they would theoretically have to be, which is pretty wild. Like did not know that was a feature until people started going live.
I thought that was cool, but I also think they took it a step further and they were like, you know what? Let them also listen to their own choice of music, which is really cool too. So like,
did they?
I'm
gonna keep it a buck. I muted my shit because for one, I was doing recordings, but then two, I was just blasting my own music after a while, so I kind of turned my shit off. Sorry. To
be honest, I was just listening to Chun-Li.
Like, but the Chun-Li theme is a banger though, for guaranteed.
I just left it on that the whole time.
Yeah.
But you can also choose the stage music. So if you like a particular stage, you could pick that stage and pick that music, right? So like, I think we're starting to see them go into that realm of saying, okay, well, when Capcom, let's say Capcom does Capcom Pro Tour, they design their own stage and it's implemented, right? Now, guess what? Let's say it's online. They can have that Capcom Pro Tour stage and also the music. And we don't know how much further they can go with keeping things tame for TV in a sense. Where it's
the whole Armika thing, right? You're talking about shit like that.
And generally they don't have to worry about player preferences, because I'm thinking like, I remember the first few months with Strive where like Punk would enter tournaments and like make everybody have to listen to May's theme, even though we all hated it. We would do stuff to like get into people's heads, but now you have like individually you can have those preferences, but you don't have to like dictate it to other people.
There you go. And you still get to customize it, right? Yeah, offline it is what it is. But there's another feature. I don't know if you guys were aware of this, but because I doubt this is the reason why, is because this really affects the rage quitters. There was an actual feature that if you rage quitted or just exited the game, whether sometimes by maybe by fault, like maybe you alt F4 or you alt tabbed and somehow alt F4 or close the game, which it happens. You actually get a card next to your name when you go back into the lobby. There is the yellow one. You get yellow carded. And then there's, from what I understand, if you continuously do it, you can then get a red card. And these cards are to symbolize, for one, that you are a raging, sodium-inducing, possibly person that just can't take a beating. Is what it is. But I also am hearing, trying to confirm it because it was coming from a tweet, that it actually affects whether or not you get matches as well. So the idea that you actually are being affected or getting put into kind of like a rage queue hell is kind of like Capcom coming full circle from when they talked about even implementing a system like that as far back as Marvel 3. is like the earliest I heard them trying to implement something like that because people were afraid like, oh, what if people just quit? It's like, oh, well, there's gonna be a special hell for those people that rage quit. Actually, it seems like it's real. Yeah. I mean, it's 10 years later, but like it seems to be a real thing.
Yeah, and they actually have that in 5 now. It's just this one's more in depth and it has like the tiers. Because in 5, if you rage quit like a certain number of times, they have like a little handshake icon, and then they have like
I don't
know what the other one is, but it's just two different tiers. And then once you get to that other tier, then you have to play just people with that, and then after a few matches, you can get out of it. But I like the card analogy, especially since this is a global game and most people
football, baby.
Football,
thinking soccer. Yeah,
it's something that translates really well.
Yeah. If you want to see an example of it here on Twitch, you can see right there by the name on box card. This guy was testing. I think he was the one testing it, but yeah, there's a card next to the flag, the nationality flag, and that's the yellow card there. Stating there's some more info on that.
What if you have to fight other yellow cards and red cards at one point?
I'm not sure.
Like, they should force it like itself.
It's interesting. I mean, there's been there hasn't been no formal talk about this. This was not, like I said, not a feature that was presented in any paper or talked about even on the official website. This is just them testing features, obviously, because it's online beta. They're testing everything. So if they're finding people, getting these results, like there's a follow up here on Twitter stating, I was getting no matches in matchmaking on the last day because of that yellow card. It kicked in right from the get go. And this person, unfortunately, it happened to them because they all tabbed and closed Street Fighter a few times mid-match. I don't know how you keep doing it a couple times, and I'm gonna call sus on that. But he could be, the brother could just be having a lot of tabs open. But it's the fact that that's that's a pretty harsh penalty. Not say harsh. I don't want to say harsh. Fuck it. If you can't take the beating, don't fucking queue up. That's just what I'll say. Yeah. I don't know if I wouldn't even drop motherfucker's name with certain letters here that just that have the ultimate PlayStation button up left right X option select to quit, and then have 18 other accounts just so you can get in. Like if you really want to waste your time doing it, Capcom's like, sure, you can do it, but you're gonna waste a lot more time than if you would have just taken the fucking fear. So take the grab and just call it a day.
So I know there was a feature that I noticed, and I meant to check it out a little bit. Maybe it'll be something if they put out a second beta. I'm kind of curious because I saw you can have more than one character. And I'm pretty sure that's for character creation story mode. Yeah. So I'm curious if that ties to your character, if the red card stays on other characters. Once you can run to other characters. Because obviously we know ranked is between is produced between each character. Obviously it should be
that is
probably
true.
Each account as well. Each character creation, I'll consider that an account. So I would imagine that you lose the red card or it transfers over. It's got to be one or the other. I personally would like to see the red card always.
Yo, dog. Why are you playing? Why are you playing Ken? I got red carded for my Ryu. I just got to play alt now.
Nobody must know.
Nobody must know. I'm just on my alt right now. I got too hangry. Now I'm playing Ken. It's gonna suck when you get through the entire cast and you got nobody to play in. Top break. Go play Blanca, dog. It is what it is.
Generally speaking, though, I think you talked about that with this feature, and then there was another feature you talked about earlier. I kind of like sometimes when the company itself doesn't tell you everything that's available in the game. Oh, you're talking about the stage too. It's really cool when the community kind of gets together and discovers that stuff as well. I think it's almost more impactful than them just kind of putting it out there and saying, "Hey, we have this. What do you think about it?"
It's a little reminiscent on things like the arcade days, right? Oh, if you want to give you the golden example, it's like, I've seen a green ninja. Like, no, the fuck you haven't. It's like, no, he exists. I swear he does. And it becomes this whole thing. Sure, it's not as grand as that, though. It would be sick, right? What if some people were, I don't know, let's just put it to the extreme there. What if some people were, if you were on a streak of 20 online, all of a sudden you got hit with a challenge. Bison. What? Holy shit, like a Phantom Bison. But now that would have blown people's fucking minds. It would be like, oh my God, it's like a, kind of like in Street Fighter 4. If you did a good run in arcade, right? You got Goki or you got Goken as a boss at the end, right? Like that's how you found out. Too? No, I thought Seth was always it. It's just you would either get Goken.
Seth was always the villain.
Yeah, Seth was always the villain. You just would get either Goken or Goki at the end. And this was like vanilla.
I thought he had to do something for him to be playable, but no, probably just Gokening.
No. This is during the arcade run is what I'm talking about.
Well, gotcha.
before we move on, which I'm pretty sure we're going to soon,
we are about to.
I want to bring up one other thing that I thought was interesting that you guys are saying that, like, you know, what MJ was saying, how the company didn't tell us these things. I think it's two things. I think it's just like how Mortal Kombat did, where you're sitting there like how you're just saying, oh yeah, I saw a Green Ninja, right? I feel like it's like when Mortal Kombat did, where they were like, hey, you got to go figure out how to do these, you know, fatalities. There's no online. Right. So now we're all but we're using online. We're all trying to figure it out together. And I think it's also cool. I think it's good because now people don't have to judge it before it comes out. Right. They can't be like, oh, well, we knew that the yellow card and red card were going to be there. I don't like the system. I think they should change this about it. Now we don't really kind of sit there and go, we should change this. We go, oh, shit, that's there. Cool. All right. Good. Let's head out. We're good. We got what we wanted.
Don't worry, dog. There's still people yelling for change. It ain't about the cards. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, just real quick. I think the other thing too with what Meza said, like I think sometimes people are told like this is going to be in the game. They have their own vision of how that's supposed to be executed, and then when it's executed differently, they're like, "Nah, this is trash." Exactly. But this way, it's like you're just getting what you're given. There's no time in your head to kind of form your own like version of something.
That is also very true. So speaking of certain things that we need to worry about, let's talk about the D word, or at least the several D words that we gotta get into. So off the rip, obviously, you know, we get through the slew of menus, we get through the character customization, we throw our 100 Hadokens. Maybe you fought with a bull, or you know, you move the what's it called? The how do they call it? The seesaw. You seesawed your opponent on one side or the other. I'm talking about extreme battles and shit. If you guys did that, let's talk about the mechanics. Right, we finally got our hands on some of the biggest components of Street Fighter 6 and what's going to dictate and what has dictated so far the actual feel of the game. So we're going to be talking, of course. Let's just start it off. We'll start with the light stuff. Not to say light stuff, but the earlier stuff that isn't as impactful right now that people are saying. Let's talk parry.